7 actions that attract the devil to close, according to ancient beliefs. Throughout history, many cultures and religions have pointed out certain attitudes as direct invitations to evil. It is not just legends or superstitions. In several traditions, there are specific actions that will be able to open doors for dark forces. In this video, you will learn about 7 of these practices that, according to ancient beliefs, could attract the devil. Some of them may surprise you. 1. Make covenants or invocations. In virtually all religious traditions, direct contact with evil entities is seen as the most certain way to attract evil. The so-called demonic pacts appear in accounts since the Middle Ages, with promises of wealth, power, or knowledge in exchange for the soul. In addition, invocation practices such as rituals of summoning spirits without proper knowledge are described as open doors to unwanted presences. In some religions, even trying to talk to the unprotected dead can result in encounters with deceptive forces. Nowadays, this fear persists in stories about games like the Ouija board, which many believe to be a tool for communication with unknown entities. 2. Constantly practicing lie and deceit. Lying has always been associated with evil forces. In many religious scriptures, the devil is described as a father of lies, which suggests that repeatedly deceiving others would be a way to act under his influence. But it is not just small untruths. Some beliefs say that those who make manipulation and deception a habit would, gradually, make room for evil. This applies to betrayal, false promises, and any behavior that is intended to trick for advantage. In addition, there are reports that lying can become an addiction. Those who often lie can lose track between the real and the false, becoming vulnerable to external influences. And, according to some traditions, this vulnerability would be what allows negative forces to approach. 3. Cultivate hatred and desire for revenge. Many spiritual traditions warn that holding grudges and feeding the desire for revenge opens the way to dark influences. Emotions such as deep hatred and a desire for destruction create an environment conducive to negative energies, making the mind more susceptible to destructive thoughts. In some beliefs, this is seen as a kind of spiritual gate to evil. The more one clings to resentment, the further away he is from light and peace. Some reports even speak of people who, consumed by anger, lost control of their actions and committed unthinkable acts. In addition, some say that negative spirits feed on emotions such as fear and hatred. Thus, by nurturing these feelings, the person would be, without realizing it, attracting forces that are strengthened with this energy. 4. Participate in dark nature rituals or games. Since ancient times, there have been warnings against participation in unknown rituals or games involving the supernatural. Jokes like Game of the Cup, Charlie Charlie, or even deep web challenges are seen by many as more than mere entertainment. They would be invitations for unknown forces to manifest. Some people report feeling strange presences or experiencing unexplained events after getting involved with these games. There are reports of objects moving alone, voices whispering, and even intense nightmares after participating in these experiences. In addition, religious traditions warn about the practice of magic without clear knowledge or intention. Certain rituals can invoke energies that are not always easy to control, making a person vulnerable to dark influences. 5. Disrespect sacred objects and places. Throughout history, many cultures have warned of the consequences of desecrating sacred sites and symbols. Churches, cemeteries, temples, and even religious amulets are considered gateways of protection, and disrespecting them could attract the opposite of sacred. This includes practices such as vandalizing places of worship, mocking religious beliefs, or even using sacred symbols in a distorted way. In several traditions, it is believed that these acts can attract negative forces because they break through a spiritual barrier of protection. There are also stories about religious objects that, when treated with contempt or used for the wrong purposes, become channels for evil influences. In legends and testimonies, there are those who report that when breaking or burning sacred items unnecessarily, began to experience strange events, such as a feeling of presence or changes in surrounding environment. 6. Engage with symbolism and hidden artifacts without knowledge. Many traditions warn of the danger of dealing with symbols and objects of unknown origin without knowing their true meaning. Amulets, statues, writings, and even jewels can carry specific energies, and using them without understanding their function can be an invitation to negative influences. Some stories tell of people who acquired ancient items or artifacts with strange inscriptions, and after that began to face unexplainable events. This can include from recurring nightmares to the feeling of being watched. In addition, hidden symbols present in certain songs, films, and works of art are also seen by some as ways to attract dark energies. There are theorists who claim that certain visual elements were intentionally inserted to invoke specific forces, making those who consume them more vulnerable. The ignorance about what certain objects represent can be dangerous, because, according to some beliefs, even the possession of certain items would already be enough to open a connection with dark forces. 7. Deliberately break with moral and ethical principles. Many religions and spiritual philosophies warn that when a person consciously chooses a path of corruption, cruelty, and destruction, he becomes more susceptible to the influence of evil. This departure from moral principles does not only mean making mistakes, but acting deliberately to harm others without regret. Acts such as blameless betrayal, gratuitous violence, exploitation, and contempt for life are often described as signs that a person is moving away from the light and toward darkness. In several beliefs, it is believed that such individuals not only attract bad energies, but can also become instruments of them, spreading chaos around them. Some stories tell of people who, by indulging themselves in destructive behaviors, began to feel strange changes, from insomnia and paranoia to a constant sense of malignant presence. For some traditions, this would be a warning that something greater is happening behind the spiritual scenes. These 7 actions appear in various beliefs and traditions as ways to attract negative influences. Whether in Abrahamic religions, Eastern spiritual philosophies, or popular myths, the idea that certain attitudes can open doors to evil has accompanied humanity for centuries. But is there anything beyond superstition in this? Even for those who do not believe in the literal concept of the devil, it is undeniable that destructive emotions, morally questionable choices, and exposure to negative influences can impact the mind and life deeply. Fear, hatred, and lack of ethical boundaries create an environment conducive to chaos, leading many people to lose control over their own lives. In addition, some of these actions can generate serious psychological and social consequences. Constant lying can corrode relationships. The desire for revenge can consume a person inside, and the reckless pursuit of the occult can bring unexpected effects, either on the spiritual or emotional level. In the end, regardless of each person's belief, there is a reflection. Do our daily choices bring us closer to light or darkness? To what extent certain attitudes are only isolated actions, and when they begin to transform who we are? Now, we want to know your opinion. Have you heard stories about these actions bringing strange consequences? Or do you think that everything is just myths and superstitions? Leave your comment.